Here's today's session. It's just row 1.25 times your assessment distance in 30 minutes and then step up 1.25 your assessment reps in 30 minutes. That's it. It's real simple. Let's take just a look at the first one. Now in general, for this entire cycle, you can either run or row. Here it's full on winter. We can't really run outside without risk of slipping and stuff like that. So we're in here on the rowers. Now it says row 1.25 times your assessment distance in 30 minutes. So let's look at an example. Let's say AJ Squared Away rowed 4,000 meters in 20 minutes during the assessment, which means that for today's session he's going to do 4,000 meters times 1.25, just like it says here, and that equals 5,000 meters. So AJ has to do 5,000 meters in 30 minutes. So let's calculate his time per 500 meters, because we know how much he has to row in the total time, but on most rowers it measures your time per 500 meters. And we're used to calculating meters per time or distance over time. Now we're calculating time per distance. So if we take 30 minutes, the total time, divided by 5,000 meters, then we're going to figure out how many minutes it takes to row a single meter. Obviously this is a very low number, it's a very small number. But then if we multiply the number that we get here by 500, then we'll get how long it takes, how many minutes it takes to row 500 meters. This will be less than the amount of time that it took, or actually it'll be a greater time per 500 meters than you saw in your assessment. So let's look at our philosophy then. Why do I want you to do a lower intensity today? The philosophy behind this endurance cycle is that if we do low intensity efforts and high intensity efforts for different periods of time, different durations, then we're going to develop multiple energy systems. The body has more than one energy system. In order to develop those energy systems, we have to do different intensities for different periods of time. So for today's effort in general, and we'll look at step-ups here in a second, but in today's effort, we have 30 minutes to do the row, for example. Well, 30 minutes is 50% more time than the assessment. The assessment was 20 minutes. If we take 20 minutes and we multiply it times 0.5 or 50%, then we get 10. If we then add that 10 back into the 20, so 20 times 1.5, we get 30 minutes. Okay, so it's 50% more time that we're going to do the work. Now, 1.25 distance is 25% more distance, or 25% more work. Therefore, you're going to do 25% more work in 50% more time than the assessment. Therefore, you're going to have to be at a lower effort, or you're going to get done before the 30 minutes is up. So figuring out your pace and learning how to pace yourself at the low intensity is a really important aspect to understand for this. Now, you can pace it just sort of intuitively, 5,000 meters in 30 minutes, or you can kind of go through, 30 divided by whatever your 1.25 time distance is, and then times 500. Pretty simple calculation. I want you to understand how that gets you where you're getting, but in all, it's pretty simple. All you have to do is take 30 divided by 1.25 times your assessment distance, and then take that times 500. Okay, so you'll do this first, and then you'll do that, and then you're going to get your time per 500 meters. So time per 500 meters. Okay, that's simple calculation. Now let's look at step-ups. Step-ups, we're gonna do a distance per time or a step-up per time. So it's a little bit easier calculation than what we're used to seeing. So again, step-up 1.25 times assessment reps in 30 minutes. So in our example, let's say AJ does 500 step-ups in 20 minutes. He's not very good at doing step-ups. But anyway, so 500 times 1.25 is 625 step-ups in 30 minutes. Okay? So if we take 625 divided by 30, then we're going to get our step-ups per minute. So that equals 20.8, or 21 step-ups per minute. Now let's look at how this is easier. Okay? During AJ's assessment, his pace was 500 divided by 20, because 500 step-ups in 20 minutes equals 25 per minute. So he was at a faster pace than what he has to do today. So he has to slow his pace down today. The idea, though, is that we're going to do a greater volume. We're going to do 625 today, but we're going to do it at a lower intensity. So we're going to do more total work, but we're going to have less power, because power is work per time. Since we're doing 25% more work and 50% more time, that's less power that we have to put out. But again, that allows us to do greater volume, and it allows us to repeat that effort day after day after day. So our cumulative volume really adds up as the weeks go by in this cycle.